One of the biggest flexes that no one talks about in this day and age is being the same version of self, both offline and online. This is a huge disconnect that I notice and a divide that I notice by a lot of people, to be quite honest. And I'm still trying to understand why that is, because for me, like a huge compliment of when I get to meet people is people who've met me online for a long, long period of time and then finally get to meet me in person. One of the biggest compliments ever is when they say, "You're exactly as I expected. You are the exact same person online as you are offline." And I didn't realize that that was a thing. And I've noticed a lot as well, like I've been working remote even prior to the pandemic for 6, 7 years. And something that's always blown my mind is when I meet a lot of coworkers, their personality offline is completely different. They come alive, they're so just open and charismatic and friendly and warm. And when we're working and we're on Zoom, which is how we communicate on a daily basis, it's very different. They're cold, a little bit kind of standoffish, and come across sometimes awkward or just like, yeah, there's like this lack of warmth. And I think that I understand that like being on camera sometimes is this different thing, but it's because we mentally make it a different thing. One way to really start noticing if you are the same version of yourself, both offline and online, is to record yourself, like kind of like as if you were a paparazzi, but when you are having a conversation with like your best friend and the person that you can really just let loose with, like have a camera or phone like recording physically, like, with the camera on, recording you on the phone, and really just pretend like the phone's not there and just have the conversation and document the conversation as honestly as possible. And then record yourself on a Zoom meeting and just notice if that version of you, and obviously I know that we are different versions of ourselves when we are, with particular people that we trust and are cool with, but just notice how different energetically those two versions of you are. I think a lot of people, when creating content or sharing online, if you're an artist or an entrepreneur or just someone who just fucking loves to create, one of the biggest challenges is being yourself on camera. And this applies in the same way. It's just so interesting that as soon as we see a camera, we start to perform and the mask just goes on, just like instantaneously there's a mask on, and we start talking more articulately and perfectly, and all of this, and all the nuances and the little bits, the little peccadillos, as Robin Williams beautifully puts in Good Will Hunting, the little peccadillos that make you fucking weird and like likable and lovable really just go away. And so the game then becomes starting to actually document yourself so that you can notice those things about you, because they are things that you are not even thinking about. They're just who you are, and it's just flowing out of you when you're just channeling yourself perfectly. And then once you start to see yourself through a clear lens, through a lens that's real, then you can start to merge those like two different versions of yourself into one. So often people start to create content and start recording, talking to camera, and they're like, "Oh God, I'm so bad on camera. Like, it gives me such cringe." It's because you're not used to seeing yourself. One of the beauties of this journey for me has been recording myself and documenting myself and seeing how long it takes to finally get into my skin. Because it, just like Miles Davis says, it takes forever to sound like yourself. And don't judge yourself based on like sitting in front of the camera and all of a sudden you're talking to this block of technology, and all of a sudden you think that it's just naturally going to come up. You have to first literally audit who you really are and notice who you are and see yourself from a different vantage point. And then you can start closing the gap and the distance between that online version and that offline version of you. And it's so powerful to do that, not just as a creator, but if you're someone who does a lot of like Zoom calls or just virtual calls and you're doing interviews, you can just be yourself. And it shocks me how unaware people are of how they come across on Zoom. I've been on so many calls where people are acting really awkward or they look really fucking mad or pissed off, but I've started to realize that they don't know that they look that way because they haven't taken the time to really see themselves and document themselves enough to realize how they're coming across and how they're energetically expressing themselves, because it's just a blind spot. And so this is something that I think can benefit so many people across the board. It's a flex. Just be that version of you, both online and offline, and start to also play with this idea that if you think you're someone that is bad online or is bad on camera or it feels awkward on Zoom, that is your own doing. You've decided that you're awkward on Zoom, so you get on Zoom and you act fucking awkward. And you're just manifesting that thing. You're putting the spell on yourself by saying the words. So what would happen if you say, I'm myself both offline and online? See what happens there. And see if you can just be truly yourself and know that those little nuances about you are really the thing that make you magnetic and make you so beautiful and radiant. And I just want you to know that you're perfect and you don't have to change it up or be some other version of yourself ever. And when you start being the same version, both online and offline, you save a lot of energy and you could use that energy for a lot of good.